The strategic city of Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine is facing a catastrophic situation as Russian forces intensify their offensive, creating an iron ring of fire and steel around the vital logistic hub. Military observers on the ground report that Russian mechanized infantry and armored columns are now operating on the immediate outskirts of the city from three directions. The relentless advance threatened to completely encircle the remaining Ukrainian defenders and cut off the last major supply artery for Kyiv's force in this part of the Donetsk region. The loss of Pokrovsk would represent a devastating blow to Ukraine's war effort, potentially unraveling its defensive lines across the entire Eastern Front. The fighting has reached an intensity not seen in months, transforming suburban streets into deadly kill zones and forcing the few remaining civilians deeper on the ground into a desperate existence marked by constant fear and deprivation. The Russian military command is executing a classic pincer movement, a tactic designed to surround and trap an enemy force. From the north, units that previously secured the town of Authoritative have pushed steadily southward, bypassing smaller, heavily fortified villages to strike at the main transportation corridors leading into Pokrovsk. This northern arm of the offensive aims to sever the primary railway lines that has for months served as a lifeline, bring in ammunitions, fresh troops, and medical supplies for the Ukrainian army. To the east, Russian forces are advancing directly along the main highway, a brutal frontal assault characterized by overwhelming artillery power. Their progress is slow and costly, but it is also methodical. Each meter of ground gain is preceded by hours of shelling that pulverize Ukrainian defensive positions, turning concrete bunkers into rubble and trenches into shallow graves. A third push from the south appears aimed at completing the encirclement, closing the final escape and resupply route for the Ukrainian garrison. The nature of the Russian assault is overwhelmingly in its scale. Long-range aviation plays a significant role, with Sukhoi fighter jets launching powerful guided bombs from a safe distance. These massive munitions, often weighing over 1,000 pounds, are capable of leveling entire apartment blocks and shattering deeply dug command posts. Their use is intended to terrorize defenders and civilians alike, creating a sense of hopelessness. On the ground, Russian assault groups, typically small squads of 8 to 10 soldiers, probe Ukrainian lines continuously, supported by a constant stream of information from surveillance drones. These units identify weak points in the defense, call in mortar or artillery strikes, and then attempt to infiltrate urban areas. This creates a flood and chaotic battlefield where front lines are difficult to define. Fierce fighting is now taking place in the Dasha communities and industrial parks on the eastern and northern edge of Pokrovsk, with control of individual buildings changing hands multiple times a day. For the Ukrainian soldiers tasked with defending the city, the situation is increasingly dire. They are fighting with immense bravery but are severely outmatched in terms of firepower. A common complaint heard from soldiers on the front is a critical shortage of artillery ammunition. For every one shell they are able to fire from their cannons, they report that 10 or more Russian shells rain down on their positions. This disparity makes it nearly impossible to conduct effective counter-battery fire, which is the tactic of shooting back at the enemy's artillery. Without the ability to suppress Russian guns, Ukrainian infantry are exposed to unending bombardment, leading to high casualties and extreme exhaustion. The troops defending Pokrovsk are a mix of exhausted veterans who have been fighting for more than 2 years and newly mobilized recruits with minimal combat experience. Both groups face the same grim reality, a lack of resources against a determined and much larger enemies. Despite these disadvantages, the Ukrainian defenses has proven to be resilient and innovative. They have become masters of drone warfare, hiding in basements and shattered buildings. Skilled operators pilot thousands of small, fast first-person view drones. These inexpensive devices, often assembled by volunteers, are fitted with explosive and flown directly into Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and groups of infantry. They have become a great equalizer on the battlefield, allowing Ukrainian forces to inflict significant damage without exposing their own soldiers to direct fire. The city itself has been turned into a fortress. Roads are blocked with concrete barriers and metal anti-tank obstacles known as hedgehogs. Buildings or key intersections have been converted into firing positions, and an extensive network of trenches and tunnels connects various defensive strongholds. However, these preparations are being systematically eroded by the sheer volumes of Russian firepower. The human cost of the siege is staggering. Before the full-scale invasion, Pokrovsk was a bustling city of over 60,000 people. Today, only a few thousand remain, most of whom are elderly or infirm and unable to leave. The city has been without reliable electricity, running water, or gas for weeks. Food and medicines are dangerously scarce. Evacuations are now extremely perilous. The main road leading west and away from the fighting are under constant threats of Russian artillery and drone strikes. Volunteer groups and Ukrainian emergency service continue to run the deadly gauntlet, driving armored vans and old civilian cars into the city to rescue families. Each trip is a gamble. Driver speaks of dodging shells and navigating streets littered with unexploded bombs and the debris of destroyed buildings. For the civilians who have not been able to escape, life has devolved into a subterranean struggle for survival. Families huddled together in damp, cold basements, their days and nights measured by the rhythm of explosion above. The constant shelling inflicts a deep psychological toll, with residents suffering from acute stress and anxiety. The medical infrastructure has all but collapsed. The city's main hospital has been damaged multiple times by strikes, and the remaining medical staff are working in impossible conditions. They lack basic supplies like antibiotics and bandage, and they are struggling to care for the continuous flow of wounded soldiers and civilians brought in from the front line. The situation creates a sense of abandonment, a feeling that the world has forgotten the people of Pokrovsk as they face the onslaught alone. The tightening siege of this critical Ukrainian city has prompted a revelations of policy in Washington. The administration of President Donald Trump is watching the development with significant concern. While the United States remain a major supplier of military aid to Ukraine, there is a growing emphasis within the White House on finding a diplomatic path to end this conflict. President Trump has long expressed a desire to stop the war and has questioned the cost of indefinite support for Kyiv. This perspective is shaping the official response to the crisis in Pokrovsk. High-level officials in the Trump administrations are carefully measuring their public statement. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth recently commented on the situation, acknowledging the bravery of the Ukrainian soldiers, but also stressing the need for realistic and sustainable military strategy. He noted that American support is not a blank check, and that Ukraine's military must use the provided resource effectively to achieve clear and achievable objectives. His comments were widely seen as a signal that the United States expects Ukraine to manage its own defense without presuming an endless flow of American weaponry to hold every single town. The focus is shifting from total military victory to creating conditions for a negotiated settlement. Similarly, the State Department, under the leadership of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, is actively exploring diplomatic channels. While publicly condemning the Russian aggression, behind the scenes, discussions are underway about how to bring both sides back to the negotiating table. The deteriorating situations on the battlefield, exemplified by the struggle for Pokrovsk, add urgency to these efforts. Officials within the State Department believe that a military stalemate that slowly grinds in Russia's favor is not in the interest of the United States, Ukraine, or European stability. They are working to build a consensus for a new round of peace talk, hoping to prevent a larger collapse of the Ukrainian front line that would give Moscow an even stronger bargaining position. The unfolding tragedy in Pokrovsk is therefore not just a military battle, it is a catalyst forcing a difficult and urgent conversation in Washington about the ultimate goals of American policy in Eastern Europe and the best way to secure lasting peace. Attorney General Pam Bondi has also been tasked with overseeing the legal frameworks for sanction. ensuring they align with the administration's strategic goals of fostering negotiations rather than indefinite conflict. The entire national security team, including Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Director of the Central Intelligence Agency John Ratcliffe, is providing President Trump with detailed assessment of the battlefield realities, informations that heavily influence the administration's cautious and pragmatic approach to the escalating crisis. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to Sobhane Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched the show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen the show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.